Dylan's eating a muffin, licking his fingers. I'll do a play-by-play of Dylan's breakfast. I wish we actually had video today. We tried to get it set up, but...
I was going to cheesily product place Otis Spunkmeyer chocolate muffins and be like, thank you to Otis Spunkmeyer.
Whatever.
Spunkmeyer?
I don't know. They're delicious giant muffins.
It's not a real name.
I wish you could see Dylan's hat, though, because it's giant and it's furry. What are those kind of hats called?
Furry hat?
Furry hats.
No, those are different.
Yeah, I don't know. He looks like he should be in like North Dakota today, and instead he's here
Dakota.
where it's like 35 here, and Dylan looks like he's dressed for like going bear hunting. But it's all right.
I do hunt bears.
You do hunt bears.
Not to eat them, just because I want to find one. Like, that's one of my goals, to see a bear in real life.
I have,
but I want to be a little closer.
I have an ex-coworker who actually lives in Washington, not far from here, like a half hour from here, that hunts bear on his bike. He literally like bikes into the wilderness.
That's like jousting.
Yeah, and then hunts bears, and then will field dress them and carry them out on his bike.
That's a little excessive.
It's real weird. I don't get it, but whatever. Anyway, episode 58 today. We are without Adam because he thought that he would go to California for Christmas. And
why? Why would you do that?
Well, because it's probably not
snowing?
Rainy and snowy there. Yeah, we don't get snow in Seattle very often. And
but when we do, we get about 4 inches, and there's 10 cars in the ditch every 100 meters.
Yeah, it's shut down. Like I wasn't sure I was going to be able to go to the airport to pick up people on Christmas because all the westbound roads from my house to the airport were closed. So, yeah, it's kind of a mess. It was actually, they said yesterday that it was the first time we've had a white Christmas on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day in 120 years.
Oh, really? I never really thought about that.
Yeah, so it's been a long time.
We've had a couple white Christmases recently, but yeah, it was actually on Christmas.
Yeah.
It snowed on Christmas.
Yeah, so it's been kind of wacky here, but Dylan and I still showed up, even if Adam didn't. So
yeah.
I think today's going to be kind of a low-key podcast. I'm sick. I'm going to try not to cough during this thing. It's mostly going to be Q&A. Strangely enough, there's not a lot of news that happens between Christmas and New Year's.
It's almost like the people that write the news aren't at working.
Yeah, they're all off. And the people,
there's probably like all kinds of news, but no one's there to report it.
No, because I think all the people that make video games are off too. So
I guess that's probably true.
Anyway, I think we are going to talk though a little bit about Christmas because that happened. We're also going to talk a little bit about Fortnite and PUBG and how those two fit together, and then we're going to have questions. We got a bunch of questions. We got questions from Vinny, got questions from Cody, Vicky, Joe, Hans, Chad, Sean, and Josh. And then we're going to talk about some free cheap games, and Dylan's got a new mobile game that he's pretty impressed with.
Well, I'm impressed.
He's impressed with it. Dylan's also chewing a muffin again, so it's all good.
I was hoping to finish my muffin, but I just didn't get a chance to.
It's all right. Do you want to talk about what you've been playing first?
I do, because I'm really excited about a game that I've been playing. But first, the game that I wish I had played more recently and haven't was PUBG, because it finally launched and I've barely played it since that. But immediately I experienced that it felt like it just played better.
Oh, really?
Like it seemed better. I don't, for whatever reason, maybe it's just all in my mind that says we finally launched the game, but just performance-wise, it felt better. And of course, you launched PUBG and it was what the test server looked like.
Yeah.
So it just looked, I mean, the new menus and stuff, it all looks nice. Its presentation's better. But then when I actually got into the game, it just seemed like it performed better.
They've released 2 Xbox patches that were both performance-based, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe some of that performance carries over into the PC version of it, too. Mm-hmm. So, that's great.
Yeah, so,
And now the new replay and kill cam stuff, that's on the test server, not on the live server yet, right?
I believe it. I don't know, because I didn't actually try to play with it. So I think it's there.
Oh, nice.
But I just didn't really play with it yet because I was kind of I wanted to get in and play a couple games just so I was able to talk about it. But it seems like by the time I get on every night, everyone else is already playing and they already have squads of 4. So I'm like, I don't enjoy the game as much by myself, but I played enough.
We'll have to hook up. We'll play duos.
Yeah. Like I was doing really well one game and I'm like, it was on the new map too, because the new map's part of the whole game now. But I was like crawling up some mountains and then loot drop fell literally like 10 feet from me.
Oh, nice.
Like, this is awesome. And I opened it up and I had like, awesome like camo level 3 backpack and a bunch of 300 Magnum ammo and the AWM, which is the big sniper rifle with an 8x scope. And I was like, cool, I'm set. And I started like, I was like watching some guys crawl down the other mountain and I'm like, okay, they're really far out and they're moving, so I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait, see if I get a good shot on them. One guy stopped behind a rock because there was another loot box out there in a rock, and he was behind the loot box. I'm like, I can't get the shot. And then finally some guy snuck up on me, and I was like, I knew he was there, and I trusted too much instead of like whipping out the assault rifle and going to find him.
Yeah,
I thought I could just kind of be sneaky and then that didn't work. Oh, so that was the wrong choice in that situation. But
yeah, I've heard the kill cam, or not the kill cam, but the camera that like you can watch the entire game take place. So you can actually, once the game's over, you can rewind it from the very first and actually like free fly through and see, kind of where everyone's landing. It's a really good way to kind of like learn new strategies and see where people drop and what they do when they drop there, and where people choose to kind of make their first stands and last stands and that kind of stuff. So I think that's going to add a lot to the game. And kill cams are always fun too.
Yeah,
so.
And it does help alleviate some of the cheater blaming.
Yeah, someone missed a couple times before they killed you.
Right. I'm sure that it does happen occasionally, but maybe a lot of the times you really do just get picked off because, I mean, it's very much a survival game. It's very quick action sequences. Right. So a lot of the times it does just take that headshot. So, but other than that, I picked up a couple games on the Steam sale.
It's real hard not to.
I'm going to try Elder Scrolls Online.
Oh, nice.
So I downloaded that.
And you got that on the PC? We should play. I've got that too.
So I haven't really tried that yet. I made a character.
Nice.
But then I also got the Don't Starve bundle on PC because I played this probably about a year ago on the phone. I was going to say
probably 9 months ago, 12 months ago.
It was fun, but I think there is so much more to the game that I really just couldn't get into on the phone because I wasn't as good at it. Because it's hard to manage a bunch of stuff on a phone screen, I think. Or, I mean, an iPad, I played it on the iPad too, and I think that was a little easier than the phone. But I think having a mouse in this game is very helpful at the speed at which you can click in your inventory and click around the map. But I love this game. Like, it's my favorite game to play right now. And I sat down for probably 2.5 hours last night and just played from day one. And I got to day 24. So for those who aren't familiar with Don't Starve, I know a lot of people have at least tried it. It is a survival game where basically you're trying not to starve, but there's also other things in the environments that will kill you, like aggressive creatures or the weather. So I think most of the time you start in a dry season. You don't start in the middle of winter because that would just be unfair because you do have to prepare for that. And that's what killed me last night was making it day 24 and all of a sudden it starts snowing and I wasn't quite ready. Like I had managed to make a puffy vest, like a puffy coat, but so I was warm and as long as I kind of stayed in my camp, I did good. I made an ice box. I filled it up with berries and I had my farms. They were creating crops and I had good supplies of food and, then my little settlement got attacked by boars. And because I was wearing a puffy jacket and not my like log suit that protects me from damage.
Is a log suit a suit made out of logs?
Yeah.
Nice.
So you can make the easiest thing to make at the start is a grass suit, but then you can find if you get you turn your grass into a rope and then you grab some logs, you can make a log suit, and that's kind of like your heavy armor in the early game. But I wasn't ready because I was wearing my puffy jacket to stay warm as I was kind of like walking around and all of a sudden these boars attacked me and I was like, what am I doing? And I guess I had a poofy. I didn't have that in my inventory, so I wasn't ready for combat at that time, and they killed me. But I ended up respawning because you can find those touchstones around the map, and you can respawn a number of times. But I was so far away in the cold, and when you respawn, you have nothing.
Oh, you're froze to death.
Like freezing to death. I finally get back to camp, and I found my stuff, but
it's too late.
Yeah, I was kind of already like weak, and then I was like, well, maybe I can go hunt some of those penguins. So I died to penguins the second time. I'm like, what?
Killed by a penguin.
And then I respawned a second time, or the the second time. It was my third life, and I died freezing to death by the time I could get back to the camp.
Yeah, that's rough. Boars, penguins, and hypothermia, man.
Yeah, it was rough. Like, winter is hard.
I hear it's coming, too.
Yeah, it is coming.
Bummer.
But super fun game, and I think it's one of those games that you learn so much more each time you play it, but I guess that's also the kind of frustrating part is you do have to go through that early game so many times. Except each world is so much different when you start because they are completely different each time. So you have your different. I can't remember what the good word is for where a geographical location that has some sort of climate. And
a biome.
Yes, biome. Thank you. It's like, what is it? So there's different biomes around the map. So over here, there's going to be, it's dry, there's grass, there's beefaloes, and there's rabbits.
Beefaloes.
So beefaloes are great because you can collect their poop, their manure, to use that to build farms and fertilize. But they also, you can shear them, I think, when they're sleeping. I never got that far because that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to get it to the beefalo field so I could shear them and make some fuzzy earmuffs to keep myself warm. But I never managed to get to the beefalo field before I got attacked. But they're so cute too.
That's awesome.
And then like the dark forest, the thick forest will have spiders in them. So spiders are very aggressive. What can you make out of spiders? So the spider silk is useful to make the puffy jackets or fishing line or a sewing kit to help repair your clothing. Yeah. And then the spider glands you can use for a healing salve to heal up. Because health is really hard to gain back when you lose it. Eating good food, I assume probably more protein-based things, will give you a little health bump, but not much.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of time to regain your health. So don't expect to go do a lot of fights in a row.
Yeah.
Like I had to go spider hunting to get enough silk to make my puffy jacket, and that was I had to go clear 2 separate nests.
Sure.
Except I got smart the second time, and I aggroed the nest by attacking it, and all the spiders came out, and I ran to the beefalo fields, and the spiders got
killed by the beefalo?
Distracted by the beefaloes, and I ran back and I killed their nest, and that kills the spiders and removes all the web from the forest. Yeah. So you can actually exterminate the spiders from cool. They might come back. I mean, spiders might be able to re-inhabit something later, but you can actually go clear them out.
Sure.
So it's neat. It's weird. I mean, it's stupid. It's like it's like its own living world, but it's exactly what it is. Like there's so much interactions within the world and just the different areas, and it gets pretty wild. Like I found some crazy gate to another world, and then I found some robots and things too, and there's magic. Awesome. So it's. When you first drop into the game, you're like, this seems pretty simple. I collect wood, I build fires, and I eat. What more to this? And it's like, there is so much more to this game. And it's very satisfying, but I think it's not for everybody because I don't think people always like all of a sudden your stuff's just gone and you start over. But
I'm not a big, like, kind of roguelike, that kind of thing. I don't know. I own it. I have not tried it. It's adorable. I guess if it sounds like something you like, it's less than $4, $3.74 right now on Steam.
And I think for $12 you get everything. You get all the DLC and you get Don't Starve Together, so you can play with a friend. And that actually comes with a copy of Don't Starve Together so that you can send to someone. That's cool. You can play with someone just without single purchase.
Yeah, so I need to try it. It looks fun.
Yeah, I think playing with someone would add an interesting element too, because a lot of the times when it's nearing darkness and you need to get that fire built, like your brain's going one direction and then the fire doesn't get built, and then you die in the darkness and get attacked and you can't do anything about it because you have zero light or whatever it is. But if you had a buddy to kind of help mitigate the tasks, right? Someone's chopping wood, someone's going to forage berries, and these kind of things. So I think that's...
Maybe you could make it to day 48.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. I'm going to make it forever. I don't know. I assume at some point you
and the kids from Fame.
You can be like a self-sustaining, walled-in area where you don't really have to leave, and I think that's the goal.
Sure.
But
nice.
Super fun.
Nice.
Highly recommend.
I have not played much lately. I've been really busy with Christmas, and I had a bunch of family come in. It's just been real busy, and then since I've got here, I've been pretty busy. I did find time to finish Star Wars Battlefront 2 single player. So both the there's like a 5 or 6 hour main game, and then they released another, like it's called Resurrection, I think, like free DLC that takes place. So the main game takes place around within maybe a year or two of the Battle of Endor, and then the Resurrection DLC takes place during the Force Awakens kind of timeline. So
It's a
20 years apart, maybe.
Yeah.
And like I've talked about the main game quite a few times, saying that great story, kind of lackluster gameplay, feels very, very, very linear. And the Resurrection DLC is short. It's maybe, saying an hour and a half seems generous, probably closer to an hour. And it really fixed a lot of those. Like I thought the story was still very, 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 very good. The story was great. And continued to be so. Like it kind of tugged at your heartstrings in the DLC. But the gameplay felt better. Not significantly better, but it felt like the areas you're fighting in were a little more open. It let you not just like the first game. I felt like I was just like hunkering down behind things, and I just wait there until kind of the enemies presented themselves. And this one was a little more open, so I'd kind of find myself running from cover to cover. Combat was just a little more dynamic. So I don't know if it was that they had more time for the DLC, or if it was the DLC came later during development time, so they'd kind of worked out some kinks. Either way, definitely better. Again, I wouldn't recommend paying $60 for the single player game. But that 6 months from now, that game's going to be $20 or $15. It's going to be on
EA Access.
Yeah, it's going to be probably at EA Access, I would guess, before November of next year. And when it hits there, definitely it's definitely worth the 6 hours of single player. Super fun. It's fun. And the story is really good. And the story's cool because it actually tells you, this game's canon. And so it tells you some things about stuff that's happening in the Star Wars universe that you wouldn't know otherwise.
Yeah.
And I don't want to tell you what those things are because it kind of spoils the game and maybe spoils, I guess, maybe the movies if you haven't seen them. But
is that specifically the DLC content?
Yeah, specifically the DLC content. So, but the other one gives you some kind of interesting undercurrents of, how things are working in the Empire, and the Empire is a lot weaker than it seems, and it's interesting. So it's well worth playing, just not worth paying a ton of money for, probably, unless you're super into the multiplayer too.
Right.
Like,
if
super
you
into Star
love Battlefront
Wars.
multiplayer, I think the game's already been on sale a few times. So,
well, I think that the thing is, if you bought it for the multiplayer and we're like, I don't want to play the single player, like play the single player, it's worth it.
Yeah.
So
it won't take you long either. So.
And then the other thing I played was Fortnite, but I think we're going to talk about that in a little more detail a little bit later in the show. So we'll skip that for now.
Yeah.
So looks like our next topic, which I totally skipped over in our intro, is New Year's gaming resolutions.
Yeah, it's almost a new year, and people like to make goals that they never actually adhere to.
I'm going to exercise more and lose weight in video games.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm going to do?
Yeah.
All right.
I think so.
Yeah, that'll work. So what's
Can
your...
we run while playing video games?
So I have a treadmill, and I have not used it very much. If you were on video, you'd be able to tell. But I saw someone the other day running on a treadmill while playing their Switch. Yeah. So maybe.
Yeah.
So,
I could see myself biking, on a bike or something.
Yeah,
I think a treadmill seems very...
The cadence might be weird.
Yeah, because in theory, you're moving your arms.
I guess it would depend on the game, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, they had it, they had the Switch sitting on the front of it, and then the Joy-Cons disconnected.
Right. I was kind of imagining myself playing handheld, but yeah,
no, I don't think that's going to work.
If you actually sweat
while walking,
if you sweat and set the tablet somewhere, firmly mounted somewhere that's not going to fall. But yeah, you can even run. You can move your arms with the Joy-Cons, and hopefully there's no motion controls that are going to get in your way.
Yeah, might work. So I think my my New Year's gaming resolution will actually be to try and finish more games. I've got kind of a little bit of a strategy going where I just, every time I think like I want to play that game, I just have this big list, and I've been concentrating really hard on starting a game and then not just dropping it off. Or if I do drop it off, like that's okay. Like go like either I'm going to consciously finish this game or I'm going to consciously not finish this game, but not just like I stopped playing. I don't know. We'll see. And so far it's worked out really well. I've actually finished 3 games in the last 2 weeks, I want to say. So, I'm making some headway. So that's my thing is I want to play more games, but I want to play more games and actually complete more games, not play a ton of games for an hour.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was really impressed with that idea. I mean, it's as simple as it is to make a list of what you really want. But I mean, think about it. Like, that's so easy to be like, okay, what's on my list? What do I actually want to finish? Okay, I don't really care about this game anymore. I'm going to cross it off. Yep. Or, okay, I'm going to sit down and finish this game.
The only downside is my list has 35 or 36 games on it right now. So.
And it's probably going to grow faster than you can really really check them off. But
yeah, I say for every game I take off, I probably add 4.
Yeah.
So, I think it's always going to be a balancing act. But I think I have a problem where I play a game for an hour and then I get pulled away by something new and shiny and forget to go back to those games. And that to me is that reminder of like, hey, you already have an hour into this 5-hour game. Just finish it. I can play games about an hour and a half a day I play about 45 minutes first thing in the morning and 45 minutes at night. And not every day, but about that. And if I really just push that hour and a half towards a game, like even a 60-hour game, that means you can finish a 60-hour game in about a month. So,
yeah.
What's your resolution?
Yeah, I think part of it is that in the world of single player games and like actually finishing things. Because I think I'm more of a second act guy where like I'll play through the second act. That used to be how I always was. And like you never finish the game. You might have been 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or an hour away from the end, but you never quite finished it.
Well, I think in games, like if you think of games, and I don't know if games are this way as much as like TV and movies are. Generally speaking, a TV show or a movie has 3 acts.
Yeah.
And I would say, cinematically, a lot of games kind of follow that formula. But generally in games, the third act's the worst most of the time. So it's not because game developers don't care. It's just because they know most people are like you and play Act 1 or Act 2 and never play Act 3. So you have to put your resources somewhere.
Hopefully you have a great payoff at the end, right? But not always.
More often than not.
So it kind of, the bad guy's going to get beat or there's going to be another bad guy and there's going to be a second game, right? So you kind of know what you're going to get. But other than that, I think being more social in games and like we have a great community of people and it's been a lot of fun playing like PUBG, for example. Like that's probably the first game I've really played with a lot of different people rather than just a couple buddies here and there. But to just get more people involved in those, because it's fun. And I think, yes, there is a lot of like toxic gaming culture and a lot of buttheads out there that say really mean things to people and just suck and aren't fun to be around. But I think there's a lot of other people that aren't like that, feel exactly the same way and don't want to play games, right? And I think that's been almost everybody at some point. So I think helping people see the fun side of it, the fun social aspect of it, and then not being afraid to step into that ground. And I mean, building an even larger community. And it's great when you have people and then you have friends of friends pulling their friends in, and then all of a sudden you're meeting new people in these games and you're having fun and you're laughing and you're joking around and you're eating chicken dinners. So it's like, that's what it's all about, right? Especially because we have, almost every game is multiplayer in some way now. You have these Destiny-like games, or you have PUBG, or you have Overwatch, all different kind of competitively on different levels, and then, but you're all playing with people, so... Yeah.
No, I agree, and I think that's actually been one of the most gratifying things about kind of our community is the number of people that have come in and said, I don't game much online, or I don't talk to other gamers much online because they're terrible and toxic and awful, and I'm sick of the abuse and all the other associated crap. And they go like, but you guys seem like you'd be pretty cool to hang out with, so I came here, and it turns out I was right. Like that, I've had probably 2 or 3 people tell me that in the last couple of weeks, and that's really a gratifying thing to hear. So,
for sure. Like, I mean, that's exactly what I think that's exactly what our goal is.
Yep.
And I think that's
Agreed.
what we've talked about many times is, I mean, make a group of people that all play games for the same reason and are here to have fun, because that's what games should be about. And of course, like, I'm not going to lie, like when I play Overwatch, I'm going to get frustrated too if someone tries to
all the time,
to play like some crazy thing. I was like, I want to help people be better at games too. So like I love games because I love the competitive nature of it and because they're fun. So it's like I don't want to just go out there and play bad too. So if like there's people out there that want to actually get better at something, and like we want to go be competitive doing something, I'm really into that too.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
Like I'm gonna Hanzo shame just a little bit, but I promise I'll be nice about it.
Terrible. All right. It is now time for a very brief segment of
news.
There you go.
Or is it?
Maybe.
It's kind of like just what's happening.
It's news-like things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
It works. But obviously, in recent news, Christmas happened.
Yeah, I had Christmas.
Or whatever holiday we all celebrate.
Christmas or a holiday like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But did we get some fun games?
I actually did not.
No games. Not a single game.
I did not get a single game.
That's crazy. I didn't really either.
Yeah, I got my kid Mario Kart.
Yeah.
So we can now play Mario Kart on the Switch. He was very excited about that. I also got my kid what's it called? Vive Pass, I think is what it's called. It's kind of a cool service if you have a Vive or an Oculus Rift. The Oculus won't work with all of them, but it's I think $6 a month or $7 a month, and you get to effectively rent 6 games from the Vive store and play them all month, and then you give them back at the end of the month, and you get to try 6 new games. And so for a system that is, there are very few like full-length giant big games, and there's a lot of fun 2-hour experience games that you might not want to pay $15 for. This is a really cool way to try out games to see, hey, would I want to pay $20 for this because it is 20 hours long, or can I beat it in a month, or were there 6 1 or 2 hour long experiences that I really want to try. I see like Everest VR, and I'm like, I don't want to pay for that, but I think it might be really fun to climb around a mountain in VR for a couple hours.
Oh yeah.
So we'll do that. I did get it's not a video game, it is video game related. I got an Elgato Stream Deck, which is like a little switcher that you can use when you're live streaming to Twitch or Mixer or whatever. We'll probably actually use it during our stream here, where you can actually use it to switch scenes between different cameras, and you can, do the zany, hey, here's an animated GIF that plays over your stream, or funny sound effect and that kind of stuff. You can do just a lot of cool stream control with it, and it's programmable, and it's very fancy. So I'm excited about trying that out a little bit. But yeah, Christmas for me was pretty low key this year from a gaming perspective. I got a lot of great stuff, but
I know I used to love like Christmas evening used to be plug in my brand new Xbox or whatever it was and just play.
But I think, honestly, it's one of those things that you think of that back in the day, like when we were kids, I get now 4 or 5, between kind of the like 3 things I do, I probably get somewhere between like 8 and 12 free games every single month, between Xbox and PlayStation and my Humble Bundle monthly and all that stuff. And so I have a wealth of games to play at any time. But man, when we were kids, when I got my Nintendo, I got Mario with Duck Hunt and Contra and a game called Iron Tank, and those were like the 3 games I had 4 months, unless you went, you got lucky and my parents would take me to, we didn't have a Blockbuster, but we had a place called Good Time Video.
Oh yeah.
Which is now a check cashing place, but whatever.
Close enough.
Yeah. And we'd go up and, you'd get to pick that Nintendo game that you got to take home for 3 days. You'd rent it on a Friday and return it Sunday night. And, that was great. But, it wasn't like I had a million video games. Like like I've said, I probably have well over 1,000 games now that I could play at any time. So, it's not quite the same, I think, when you get a game now, because
you don't know when you're actually going to play it. That kind of reminds me, like, thinking back to like the N64 days too. Like, I don't remember getting a lot of new games for it. Like very occasionally, but I mean, I was also really young too. So
well, I don't think that games. I mean, it was just a different thing too. Like I don't think games went on sale like they do now.
Right.
You know. I mean, maybe they did. Maybe I just wasn't aware of it. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I really got that many new games until, or like, I mean, new as in like fresh out of the packet, or even like a new game to play. But at some point, because we lived in a small town, right, and I obviously was not old enough to go drive to the store or anything, because I was probably, got us elementary school.
Yeah.
So at some point we discovered used games, though, whether it was at the Blockbuster or we had a store video update for a while. I remember renting games there a lot, but I don't know if we ever purchased, or maybe finally when we went out and ventured out into a GameStop or something that opened up in Bonnie Lake, which was 20 minutes away. But like we found used games, like I can get all these N64 games for like a couple bucks. This is cool. I remember stocking up at that, like, because I mean my mom was into it, because it's like we could get, like, I could get all these new games and we weren't paying like full price for them. And that was probably, that was way late, like after, probably the PS2 was already even out at that point.
But
who knows?
If you don't know, it
didn't really matter to me, because I played Army Men Sarge's Heroes a lot, like over the years. Like that game's still cool to me. Like,
I think it's the thing is how many garbage games you played because, well, that was the game you had.
Yeah, it didn't matter. Like it was still fun. So I just kind of had to go back in time there for a second.
It's real good.
I didn't get a lot of games either, but I did take advantage of some of the sales that are going on, which is usually kind of, I think, what this is more nowadays.
I've bought a couple little Steam sale things, not a ton. Like I'm trying to be good. I'm trying so hard to be good.
Right. Like I picked and choose. I spent $20 on Steam, I think, and I spent $25 on Steam and $25 on Xbox.
Yeah, I'm not sure I haven't bought a lot, but I've bought a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Dylan bought me Tooth and Tail, though. I'm super excited about that.
So you got one game for Christmas.
I got one game. And I've not played it yet, but I'm really, really excited to.
I haven't played it yet. I did buy that
for yourself.
Yeah, so I bought that, Don't Starve, and Elder Scrolls Online on the Steam sale, and that was like $25. Or, I think it was $25 or $35. Sure. And then on Xbox, I used a gift card, which essentially is what you gave me for. So
there you go.
Maybe Cliff bought me Cuphead and The Evil Within for Christmas. So we just exchanged video games.
Yeah, it's all right. It's kind of how Christmas is as an adult. You just give people other things, and they give you other things.
Yeah.
Everybody
At
wins.
some point, I just kind of wish we would just like, hey, everyone, just go buy yourself something nice.
Everyone should go buy yourself a video game.
Yeah, go buy yourself something nice for Christmas. Yeah. So tell them that I told you to do it.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited to try Cuphead finally.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know how hard it really is. I'm excited. Adam said it's pretty hard. Everyone else says it's pretty hard. I'm excited though. Like it's so cool. Like I can't not play that game for much longer.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try that, and it's play anywhere too. So I can try it on the computer and the Xbox. So I was pretty excited about that, because I haven't tried any game like that yet.
Yeah, I'll be interested to hear what you have to say about that.
And then I've heard a lot of good things about Evil Within lately, and I wanted to play a survival horror game. And now that the second one's out, I figured, okay, I could get the first one for $6 and play through that. And if I like it, by the time I'm done, the other one will probably be like $20 too.
That's kind of how it goes.
So that's kind of my plan here
moving
forward.
It's a real good plan. I like it. So, you want to talk a little bit about Fortnite?
Yeah. So I just kind of put this in here because Cliff was explaining to me his experience with Fortnite Battle Royale specifically, and I just had some interesting questions because he had a lot of fun playing it these past few weeks, or however much time you play. I've been
playing it for like 2 or 3 weeks.
You
probably,
seem to play. I see you on there
Yeah.
playing it every couple nights or whatever. But
it's just an interesting game, and it's interesting because it came out and everyone was like, "It's just PUBG. It's exactly the same thing as PUBG."
But it's not.
It's really not. Like
like at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's apples and oranges, but it's like, I don't know, like apples and pears. Like it's something similar to an apple.
It's a fruit.
It's a fruit.
It's a game.
Yeah, and it's kind of crispy.
I mean,
but it's not exactly an apple.
There's a plane or plane-like thing that flies over a map that you parachute out of. And
right now it's Christmas time, so it's actually a bus being held aloft by a giant Santa balloon, which is pretty awesome.
That's pretty cool. And then you parachute down to a map, and there is 100 of you.
And that's kind of where it
stops. Other than
you're trying to kill
your goal
each other.
is the same.
Yeah. But it's interesting because it just plays different, and like the big difference is like PUBG is very strategic. PUBG is I need to land and get my weapons, and then depending on where the circle is, I need to either find somewhere that's safe to hide. Like, to me, both of the games are a lot about hiding. Like, it's where can I, because when you're in the open, that's when you get shot. Whereas in, or, oh my gosh, I need to run really fast to where the circle is. But the crazy thing about Fortnite, and it's that thing that you don't think about very often, because if you come from PUBG and start playing Fortnite, you're kind of at a disadvantage, because you don't think about things like the other day I was down to the last two. So it was, my team versus another team, and all my teammates were dead. So it was me versus a couple other guys. And they were at the top of a hill, and I was hiding at the kind of the base of the hill, and neither of us could see each other. We couldn't shoot each other. And we were really just waiting for the final circle to pop down. And, there was like a 50-50, probably a 50-50 chance that one of us was going to end up in the circle. And it pops down, and they were the ones that ended up in the circle. And I'm like, crap. So now I've got to figure out a way to get to them without getting killed. And they'd actually built, because it's Fortnite, you can actually build things like you can in the base
I didn't
game.
really realize that.
Yeah, they built this
first.
huge, like 200-foot tall staircase that went from the ground all the way up to this super high point. And so they had this huge height advantage. But I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm gonna get behind this tree, and I'm in the circle now, and I'll just wait them out. One of us is
You might have to come down.
Yeah, they may have to come down. I'm not going up after them, so they're gonna have to figure out a way to come down and get me out. And the odds of me winning 1-on-3 are effectively zero. I'm not
33% or less.
No, it's like 3% or 0.3% or less. I'm a terrible shot. So the odds of me killing, like, maybe they'll fall off this height and kill themselves. Like, that's what I was hoping for. So I'm hiding behind this tree, and all of a sudden a rocket hits it. I'm like, you can't kill me with a rocket. Like, there's this huge tree. Like, the splash damage is not going to kill me. And then they shot another one, and the tree exploded. And you just don't think about how destructible the environments are in that game. And so all of a sudden, I'm there out in the open. There's no tree anymore, and bullets from this giant mountain rain upon me, and I lost. But I did take second, so I was okay with that.
Yeah.
But that's not an experience that... it's an experience that happens to me quite a bit. I was in cover, and I started shooting at a guy, and all of a sudden the dude just put up a wall. I'm like, you can't do that. And obviously you could.
The answer is yes, you can.
And so now I'm like, I'm in cover, he's in cover. I'm like, what do I do? Like, do I, I can try and shoot down his cover, which would work, but then I waste a ton of bullets shooting down this giant wooden wall, essentially.
Right.
I can try and go, he's wounded. I shot him. I can try and go, get him out from behind it, but then the odds of now I'm out of cover and he's in cover, or we can just kind of call it a draw. And that's literally what happened. Like, we waited and he waited, and all of a sudden I saw him take off from behind his cover, and he was too far away for me to shoot him with the SMG I had. And so I'm like, well, that's novel. Like, that's something that doesn't happen in that. And then probably in the same play session, I was inside a house, and someone came through a door, and I actually managed to kill them, which is kind of rare. But, doing so, I created a lot of noise, and I could hear someone walking outside. And so I, like a good PUBG player, positioned myself, kind of in a corner with a good sight of the door. And I'm waiting. I'm like, they're going to come around that corner. I'm just going to blast them with my shotgun. And instead, they used their pickaxe to break through the wall and kill me. And you just don't. You can't approach them in the same way. They're very, very, very different games. And if you don't approach Fortnite as a game where building things is going to be part of your strategy, you're probably not going to be terribly good at it. It's a game where applying the same strategies you knew in PUBG are not going to necessarily translate over to Fortnite. And in addition to that, Fortnite is a way cartoonier, it's just a different game. But I play both of them quite a bit, and I switch back and forth between both of them quite a bit. And I don't necessarily find one superior to the other, because it would be like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of two other games. It's like, say, and maybe this isn't a better thing, but comparing like Diablo and Torchlight. Like, they're both, Diablo clones, and that one's Diablo and the other one's a clone of Diablo made by Diablo developers, but they have a different tone. They have a different way of playing. They have a different, I mean, everything about those two games, even though they're both Diablo-likes, are very, very different. And that's kind of what this is one is definitely a clone of PUBG, but it's different enough that they're very different games. So, but I like both of them. So, Fortnite's free though, so that is one advantage. If you want to play a free battle royale game, you can go download it right now on PC. I think PC, but definitely PlayStation and Xbox. So
yeah, it's something I might try again, because I did try it and I didn't really have any of that in mind because I'd never played it before, really, and it's kind of this new thing, and it's supposed to be a battle royale, and I really like PUBG, so I didn't really enjoy it, and it felt arcadey because it's a very arcadey game. But I think knowing that there's this building mechanic that I didn't even really think about when I was playing the game, because I was more concerned about dropping down and getting a weapon and shooting people and surviving. So like it's a whole different game that I didn't really realize was there. So that might be something worth checking out. But I mean, this also makes me kind of wonder though, is people are really enjoying this mode. Is this doing something good for Fortnite? Are people buying this game now? The answer is probably yes.
Yeah.
But does it make you interested in actually playing Fortnite, or is the grind still?
For me, I just don't like. We talked about this. I don't want to support the idea that, hey, we can put a game into beta and make you pay to play it and then releases it a free to play. Like, I don't like that business idea, so I don't particularly want to care to buy into that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I kind of wonder if it even matters, because they do have microtransactions in that game. They're all cosmetic.
Yeah.
And so maybe they don't care if people are buying Fortnite as long as they're buying the
they found something
too.
else that's better than the game that they already made, and it's free to play, and they're making money off of it the way they planned their game to do. Down the road, this is like it's the weirdest.
I wish I could see like their roadmap for how this worked, or if it was literally, they're like, oh man, that PUBG thing's working really well. We should do one of those too. But I mean,
that was totally it.
I just can't imagine that you could put out a game, because I mean, Fortnite's pretty polished. Like, it plays well, it looks great, the map's pretty fun. I have a hard time believing that you could see I mean, obviously they've known about PUBG for a while because they use the same engine, and Epic licensed that engine to Bluesoft, or it is that makes PUBG. So I mean, obviously they knew what was going on, but I mean, it's hard to imagine that you could almost beat them to market.
Right.
I mean, but I guess,
they have probably more resources.
They probably have more resources, and I guess maybe they already had kind of the engine. I mean, in Fortnite, the, zombie defense game has been in development since like 2012. So maybe it was pretty easy to just
kind of make a map and put a bunch of players on it.
It feels very well done. It feels professional. It feels AAA. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting.
I really, 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 really wish you could go prone, though. It drives me nuts that you can't go prone. It's not a deal killer, but man, I wish they'd fix that.
Yeah.
So anyway, would you like to do some questions?
Yeah, I guess it's question time.
Question time. We got a bunch of them. First one is from
Vinny. Hey, yo.
It was pretty low key.
Hey, yo, Vinny. I haven't had all my muffin yet.
Man, it's the last one. I haven't even opened my muffin yet.
You got to eat your muffin.
Yeah.
Vinny says, eat your muffin.
last week of the year, we can do a low key Vinny. It's all right.
Adam's not here.
Yeah, it's all right.
There's only 2/3 of the enthusiasm in the room.
He really does kind of drive this.
Yeah.
He's a good man. All right. So, first question is from Vinny, and his question is, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you all. That's not a question, actually. What games will you be super excited for coming out this new year, and what games do you intend on playing from now until then? The first part of the question is, wait for episode 59. That's going to be next week, and I believe that is going to be our What Games Are We Excited About in 2018 episode. We were going to do it this time, and then Adam's like, no, I really want to be involved with that. So
that's a tease.
He's actually coming in off vacation because he's taken like a week and a half off to record. So we'll have him on next week, and we'll answer that question. But to answer your second part of the question, what game do you intend on playing from now until then?
I'm going to keep playing Don't Starve.
Good choice.
I think. But I definitely need to get back to playing PUBG with everybody because it is out now.
Because you miss
I
it.
feel bad that I'm not playing it. But other than that, I do want to play The Evil Within because I've kind of been itching for a survival horror game.
Sure.
So those are kind of my next in line games. I was really excited about finally buying it.
Yeah.
Which is silly because it's $6, and you shouldn't get that excited about buying things for $6. But at the same time, I bought like Don't Starve for $12 for the whole bundle, and I'm like super pumped about it.
I think the funny thing is I enjoy buying a $60 game that comes out and being a big part of that like conversation. Like Star Wars has been fun because it's out now, it's current, people are talking about it. But I mean, I bought a bunch of games for my birthday, which was over a month ago, that I've not really played at all yet. And I kind of have a history. Like I did that same thing last year where I bought Civilization 6 for my birthday last year. I've never even started it.
Mm-hmm.
I bought Planet Coaster, which I've played maybe an hour of. I think there's something to be said for picking up a game on a great sale for $8 that you've been wanting to play for 2 years, and just like the anticipation's built up around that game. You're like, let's do it. And if it's good, if it meets those expectations of 2 years, that can be a great game too. And sometimes I play those more than I do, other things. It just kind of depends what you're in the mood for. So I think this year, for the rest of this year, we've got like one of their 3 or 4 days. I would like to finish Night in the Woods. I don't know if that'll happen. It's like an 8-hour game. I don't know if I'm going to be playing it. Like, I love that game. I kind of almost want to savor it. Like, I don't want to like do just a hard push to finish that. So I think I'm going to do some Night in the Woods, and then I think I might go back actually to The Witcher 3. I kind of want to knock that was someone said, what game was I playing? That was a question I think last week or the week before. What game are you currently in the middle of that you're going to finish in 2018? And mine was The Witcher. So it'd be nice to get kind of start the year off with a bang, get The Witcher out of the way, maybe in the first couple weeks of January, get Night in the Woods finished. And then I think I'm going to go into Wolfenstein next. Like I finished the New Order and was just like, that game was good, but I kind of didn't want to go right into another first-person shooter because I was worried that I might start out with like, oh yeah, I want to do
Fatigue.
this, yeah, and then kind of go like, ugh, I'm not back in first-person shooterville. So maybe I'll start that after. And one other thing that was really kind of one of my Christmas or my New Year's resolutions. I want to stream more this year. I want to get back into doing that. I've got all the stuff, although I think I found out my microphone's broken this morning, so I've got most of the stuff, but I got all this cool gear that I keep buying for streaming, and I don't stream very much. So hopefully I can stream some Night in the Woods, maybe stream some of The Witcher. The Witcher's got some like naked parts in it that seem like it'd be real awkward when I'm streaming. I'm like, okay, so guess we're just gonna watch Geralt and that chick do it.
Back to you, Tom.
This is real weird. Anyway, although maybe Wolfenstein may too. The first one did. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just get some black bars that I can play with. We'll see. So I think that's what I'm going to be playing.
I love it.
I love it too. All right, next question from Cody. How about if you could change the ending of any game ever, what would you change it to and why? Preferably a story-driven game you otherwise enjoyed except for a lackluster ending. I've got one right now. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so for, say, the next 2 or 3 minutes, I'm going to spoil the ending of Red Dead. So I guess if you haven't played Red Dead, which I think came out in 2011, 2012,
yeah.
I don't know, pause this game, go buy it, spend 40 hours playing it, and then come back to the podcast.
We're here to the strict, you can spoil anything in the last generation rule.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Red Dead is an absolutely phenomenal game. I'm super excited about the first one, and I completely understand why it ended like it did. And so the way it ends is John Marston? I don't know.
Is there an H?
Johnny M.
Johnny M.
Gets, he's stopped his life as a outlaw and has a nice farm with his wife and kid, and everything's great. And his old gang, I want to say, tracks him down.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a shootout at the end that you actively have to participate in. Like, you are controlling him as he does it. And it's like 1 versus 10 or 11, and there's just no way to win. And so that game ends with the character that you've been playing for 40 hours dying, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. And I understand why the game ended that way. I really do. And I just hated it. It was so disappointing to me to play as a character that long and then have them die in a very, very senseless way after their life had turned around. You know, it was like it almost invalidated the 40 hours you spent trying to redeem this character. You did it, and he still died. Yeah. There's nothing you can do about it. And like I said, I know why they did it. I know, you know, I don't think I can't say that there's a better way to make that happen. I don't know if he could have. I don't know if the ending would have been better if they just said, like, and he lived as a farmer for the rest of his days, you know, happily ever after. I don't know if that would have been a better ending.
Right.
But damn it. Like, that game ended, I was just like, really? Really? Like, I put all this time into that ending, and there's a lot of people that disagree with me. My brother will argue with me until the day we both die that was the right way to end it. But, man, it pissed me off. It made me sad, and I don't want it to end that way, but I don't know how to end it better, so...
Right. I was kind of thinking the same thing because, it's a very sad ending because you do love the character, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know how you end it otherwise. Yeah. But sometimes you do have to give the audience what they want. So it's really hard. I mean, Rambo. Look at Rambo. The original ending of Rambo.
He died.
He killed himself.
Yep.
But they had to change it because just wouldn't test well with audiences.
If you have not seen Rambo, like the first one,
it's so good.
It's so good. It's probably the best anti-war movie ever made. And it is absolutely spectacular.
Like, it's great.
2 and 3 and whatever that fourth one was,
just Rambo,
are terrific action movies. But the first Rambo movie is
a solid movie.
Absolutely amazing.
I actually put that up there on my top movies list.
Yeah,
just because
100%
I think it's a great movie.
So nothing about video games, although there was a Rambo video game. But watch that.
The arcade one, or was there a different one?
There's a couple of them. Yeah, there's a home one too. My kid actually just hit me up on Messenger and said that he hates EA, and I said, why? He says, have you beat Star Wars Battlefront 2? And I said, yeah. He said, I'm like, play the DLC. He's like, I just did. I played that one too. I'm like, yeah, that ends kind of sad too, doesn't it? So my kid might want a different ending for Battlefront 2. Does not necessarily end in the happiest of ways.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a spoiler, but
no.
That game's sad.
I mean, life's not always happy.
That is
true. It's not always
true.
puppies and rainbows.
You know, and the funny thing is, like, Firewatch, like, I was great with the way Firewatch ended, and that's a damn sad ending.
Right.
So... yeah,
but I think it left a little bit more up to than something as final as
no one in Firewatch ended up dead. So
I guess here, let me answer this question. Like, I would have liked to change the ending in Red Dead by not having you play that last sequence. Maybe
if it had been like an FMV.
I think when you create a sequence in a game that you're playing, you're implying that you can do this.
I played it twice trying to see if there was a way I could do it, and you just can't.
Right. So I think there's a certain cinematic element that you might have been able to put in there that could have altered how people like Cliff, who are very upset at this ending, they might have found a little bit more catharsis in it because it was painted a certain way instead of having this crazy firefight that you're not going to win and then your character dies.
And I'll be honest, I'm kind of against that as a gameplay mechanic anyway. The you have to play this, but you can't beat this boss anyway. Like, the purpose of this fight is for that boss to beat you.
Right.
I don't like that gameplay mechanic in general. So
like, as long as you're not dying in the end. Like, if you force the boss to retreat or something, or maybe you have to retreat, or I think it has to be very obvious that that's happening though. So, but yeah, I think I would change the ending to much like Cliff. I would change the ending, but I wouldn't necessarily have him live. I would just change the final sequence.
It's just a bummer. Anyway, we're back. We have now spoiled Red Dead Redemption. I'm super excited to play that game next year. That's probably to answer your question, Vinny. That's the top of my list next year.
Right.
Next question is from our good friend Vicky, who you all know and love. She is currently out of town. If she was in town, she would be here with us today, but she is at home playing in more snow than we have here. She asked us if we know how to do snow angels. I said, I'm not dumb enough to lay down in the snow. That's how you die.
I definitely snowball fighted all the nephews and cousins, and I won.
Good show.
Because I need to teach them that you don't start snowball fights because you're going to lose.
Anyway, Vicky's question is, what is the best video game soundtrack? I have answered this question 1.8 million times. The answer is Abzu.
Yeah.
Past that, every other video game soundtrack that Austin Winter has worked on Past that, I like the Doom soundtrack a lot.
I love the Doom soundtrack.
The Horizon Zero Dawn soundtrack is very good. The one that people seem to really like this year was actually Nier Automata. Which I did not care for at all.
No.
But neither here nor there. What about you, Dylan? What's your favorite?
I definitely love Doom. It's so good, but
if you like metal, like Doom is just
for sure.
good.
And that's why.
Man, Doom's a great soundtrack, but man, do I have to be in a mood for that soundtrack.
And that's why I love it, because I'm a metal guy, so like I love that kind of music. So to have that music in a game, and it makes sense. Sometimes you have a sequence where you get kind of a metal song, but not like full bore metal for the whole game. And that's so cool.
It's good stuff.
But I do love the other stuff too.
Yeah.
And then soundtracks that aren't necessarily composed by people. Like the Grand Theft Auto games do a great way of capturing certain eras, specifically Vice City and San Andreas. I really liked too, because it kind of had the 90s rock music in there, and it just, as silly, they used Jane's Addiction Mountain Song as they're doing it in the trailer when you're coming down the mountain is the line, and then you see the big trucks barreling down San Andreas and in the Mount Chiliad or whatever it's called. So those vibes are created so simply. Music is used in games and movies like that. It can be used to such an effect to create those moments.
What's your favorite movie soundtrack?
This goes to Quentin Tarantino. Like, he always does so good with, again, it's songs. It's not necessarily, someone composing this music, but like Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs are both great. But from there, I really enjoy Cliff Martinez, what he does with Drive and Only God Forgives. That soundtrack's great too. Neon Demon was cool. Like all those recent Nicholas Winding Refn movies. So
it's good. I really liked the Forrest Gump soundtrack.
Yeah, I just watched that the other day, and
it's good.
That's good too. Like,
it's the same thing, real music, but real music used really the scene where in Forrest Gump where they are landing in Vietnam to "Fortunate Son" by CCR is just good.
That was because I hadn't seen Forrest Gump for a long time.
I probably seen it in 15 years.
Just watched it, and that's probably the moment that stuck out to me the most.
I don't remember where they use it in the movie, but they use "All in the Watchtower" by Jimi Hendrix. So that's real good.
Yeah, that's a great.
That song is not on the soundtrack though.
Yeah.
The time the Hendrix family was in litigation with whatever record label owned all of Jimi Hendrix's music. So anyway, good question, Vicky. We hope to see you back. I guess Tuesday. Joe asks, is it possible to play through a game on mute? Sound design is so important for the atmosphere of games. What would be a game that you would be able to play on mute? An easy cop-out would be arcade games, because arcades are so damn loud. I actually play a lot of games, not on mute necessarily, but when I'm playing with my brother on Saturday and Sunday mornings, when instead of using like a party chat like through Xbox or PlayStation, we often talked on the phone because he's got a very young daughter, and so she sees cables hanging from headphones and attaching to controllers as something to grab. Yeah. And so often I'll call him on my phone, and I'm listening on a headset and on my end, but he actually just has it on speakerphone. And so I actually play a lot of games without sound because we're playing early enough that my family's asleep still. So I've played a lot of Destiny without music or sound. I've played a lot of Grand Theft Auto without that. Pretty much any game we play, there's a good odds I've played about half that game without it. It is definitely not the right way to play video games. Not only am I a huge lover of video game music, but these days, like, positional audio is so important. I don't think you could play PUBG without sound.
Yeah, that would be
really hard. So, like, is it possible to do it? Yeah, sure. Would you want to? No. Video game sound design and music is awesome.
What comes to mind is like sports games. Sports games you don't need sound for, really.
That's true.
Rocket League, you could probably get away with just cranking music and driving around kicking a soccer ball. If you're going to play competitive...
Except for the kickoff, yeah.
Right.
And I actually do that sometimes. The funny thing is the way I used to play, like back in the OG Xbox days where you could actually load music onto your Xbox and then use that as your soundtrack. I used to play Tony Hawk. In a game called Amped. It was a snowboard game with my own soundtrack. I was super at that time I was super into punk music, and so I'd listen to these big punk No Effects and Bad Religion and stuff soundtracks while playing those games, and they fit perfectly within the aesthetic of those games as well. So
yeah,
you can do that now with Xbox and Spotify, but I don't know, most games I tried doing it with Grand Theft Auto because I think Grand Theft Auto's got a great soundtrack, but it gets real repetitive,
right? Because you have your stations that you listen to, and then you hear the whole station.
And it was kind of like what Grand Theft Auto needs is like a Spotify station because during the cutscenes I don't want my music to be playing in the back, and there's no way to not have that. So I do it with Rocket League every once in a while because you can still hear I turn their music all the way down, leave my music on, but then leave their sound effects on. So that works, but yeah, I don't think it's something I want to do very often.
I mean, how cool would that be if Grand Theft Auto actually programmed
Spotify or Pandora?
So they had their imaging between, but they'd pull from a larger library of songs.
Well, I got a Spotify Pro account.
That'd be so
There's no
cool.
reason that shouldn't work.
Rockstar team up with Spotify.
I wonder if anyone's
whatever.
modded that into the PC version of GTA.
Yeah.
That seems like something that would work. That'd be fun.
That'd be real cool.
All right. Next question from my good friend Hans. His wife blindsided him with a Switch for Christmas, and this is actually a question we have gotten quite a few times. He says he hopes the Christmas season was awesome for everyone. What does he need for his Switch? And outside of a bunch of game recommendations that we gave him, my recommendation is you should always get a Pro Controller.
Because Pro Controller, it's great.
It's awesome.
And you're going to want it when you play Mario and Zelda.
Almost anything. And the second thing I always recommend is that you get a screen protector because they're super, super cheap. I got the Anchor ones, which are amazing, and they're $10.
Yeah.
And they are literally almost unnoticeable on the screen.
I love it.
They're actually made of glass, and so they're very, very clear. They don't really bubble. They're super easy to put on as long as you're careful. And so, I would get one of those, and then I would also get a case for it because you are definitely going to want to take it places. And then you should also buy a SteamWorld Dig 2.
Yeah, SteamWorld Dig 2.
Is there anything else that you think? He was asking about getting a second set of Joy-Cons.
Yeah, I do have 2 sets of Joy-Cons. I have used them a little bit.
Do you have the charging controller?
I don't have the charging controller. I was interested to get that, but
yeah. It's $20 extra, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I think I'd like to have the dock that you can put 4 Joy-Cons on. That seems cooler than the charging controller. I
would also say a second base, especially now that you can get them for
a third-party one.
A bunch of people make them now, actually, and they're in the $35 to $40 range instead of $80 for the Nintendo one.
Yeah.
Especially if you only have one TV, maybe that's not a big deal. But
right. Well, I also like the idea because I also have I have 2 cases. I have one case that just fits the Switch and the handheld with the Joy-Cons and some games stuff, and then I got the big case that fits the Switch, the dock, and everything.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was on sale at Target or something. I was like, I'm gonna get that.
Oh, that's cool.
But I'd like to just have a dock in that.
Yeah.
So I have my dock on my TV, and then I have a dock that I can take places because
your go bag full.
Yeah, because it's cool. You can play in tablet mode and you can set it, but I just want to go over to my buddy's house and we're gonna plug into the TV. Have that option as well.
I would also say if you are a iOS based family, you should buy yourself an extra USB-C cable.
That too.
Once you have one of those, that enables you to plug your Switch in handheld mode into any of the wall warts used for your cell phone, charge it that way.
Battery pack.
Lets you plug it into a battery pack, lets you plug it into an airplane, lets you plug it into a car charger. Get a long one too. Get a 6-foot one, get a 8-foot one. That'll make your life significantly better. And I picked mine up at Target for $5 on vacation. So that'll be good.
Yep. And SteamWorld Dig 2.
And SteamWorld Dig 2.
And Splatoon 2. And Mario and Zelda, probably.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I wasn't.
You know the games. The games are that's the easy part. Except there are kind of a lot of them now, so it is kind of hard to pick one.
So I'm going to I'm going to say it's a joke. My brother posted this yesterday in our Discord. And this is, so Nintendo Executive 1 says, so I think in the new Zelda game, all weapons should eventually break. Like after a couple swings, their weapon will break, and then we'll have them manually switch to a new one. And the Exec 2 says, what if they just switch to the next one automatically? First Exec says, no, I think it'll be more fun if they had to do it themselves. The second Exec says, I guess. So, like, if the weapons break, I guess we should allow them to collect as many as they want. No, 5. They can carry 5.
That's exactly my feeling.
Get Zelda.
Your weapons will break.
Next question is from Chad, and I think this is actually a question for Dylan because I don't know that much about PUBG.
Have you eaten any chicken?
I've never eaten a chicken dinner. I got so close to getting a llama though. Strategies for PUBG, how to better your chances on getting that chicken. My one strategy that I will say, and this is a mistake that I make almost every single time I play PUBG, is that you do not need to shoot at everyone you see. In fact, you're almost always better off not shooting at everyone you see.
Yep. And I think a lot of the strategies that I have will be applicable, but I do play mostly teams, so stuff might be a little bit different when you're playing with a team or by yourself. But rule number 1, don't engage always, like Cliff said. Like that is I think that's the biggest thing that can change a fight is not fighting, watching a fight, choosing not to fight, these kind of things, like when to fight. And sometimes being the aggressor is a good choice. So like if someone shoots at you, maybe retreat. If you're being shot, that doesn't necessarily mean you should shoot back. So it's like I'm a big believer is like, I mean, goes like, again, why I love games and the competitive nature is like when you play chess, you want to be the actor and not the reactor, right? You want people, once you have people starting to make decisions based on what you're doing, you're already winning.
Yeah.
That's my philosophy. So when one team starts shooting you, why would you just shoot back? Because you don't know where the other 3 guys are.
Yep.
So
especially in teams, man.
See, that's exactly why I say don't fight. And kind of piggybacking on that is make decisions in the game. And this again is teams, but these kind of things also apply. Is like make those decisions. Have somebody that's not afraid to make decisions for the team also. And like naturally certain people play the game and are decision makers, and some people are very good at the game and are very good at shooting people, and those are great people to have on your team. So lead them and let them do that.
Yep.
Like, okay, let's fight. They win the fight. Like me, I'm not the sharpshooter on my team. I'm the guy that's not afraid to say, let's go here, let's go here, let's go here.
Yep. Those strategies are important too. Where to land, where to get a car,
right.
Where to get guns.
And landing, for example, obviously landing in the middle of the map is going to be more dense with people, but it's going to be closer to the circle. Finally, on average, because the more likely than not, the circle will be in the middle. It can be on the edge, but more likely it's going to be in some
like
area.
Statistically, that's true. That'd be really interesting to run a bunch of. It'd be really interesting to like capture a bunch of games and see where the circle ends up more often than not.
And I only say that because if you land dead center, all these circles that could happen are all coming out from the middle. So if you're somewhere in the middle, you're just going to be closer to a circle that's in the middle or a circle that's outside of you. You might be dead too. I, however, don't necessarily prefer that. I prefer landing near the coast.
Same.
I like leaving one border where I know enemies will not be coming from.
Yep.
So I'm not going to give my secret place away. I already have in previous episodes, but I'm not going to give it away. No. But there are certain places where we like to drop when we have that opportunity.
I will also say swimming is not always a bad idea.
No. Yeah. Swimming's good. Boats are good.
Swimming's sometimes better than going across the bridge.
Yeah. I do love the boats too. Yeah. Like, boats are great because they help you kind of redeploy.
Yeah.
You're on one side of the map and you can go all the way around. Like your south side, you can go all the way around north side.
Yep.
Like you can completely redeploy. Pay attention to where the plane flew.
Sure.
Which direction did it fly over the map? Because again, that tends to be the path of where players are.
Yep.
If you know the plane flew down south and you're up north and attacking from the north, now you know that who's behind you, that you're unlikely going to have anyone behind you.
Sure.
And again, these are just simple things where you just have one less area to pay attention to. So you can be focused on what's ahead of you. Those are kind of my big things. And,
good.
And those are basic principles that don't really get into like any of the weapons and like use what works for you.
Yeah.
Like I don't think there's.
I think the thing is like you can never predict what weapons you're going to get, so you're probably going to have to be competent with most of them.
Right, and always trying to hold out for a weapon. Like I've never found to be effective. Like SMGs are great. Like the UMP9, great. Obviously, like I want the M4 every time if I can. Having a sniper rifle is awesome. Having good scopes is awesome. But in reality, like to win, I don't think you really need to be that aggressive.
I mean, that's the reality. Is a lot of people, you can get a chicken dinner and never kill anyone.
Right. Yeah, and I think I've been a part of one where we won, where we either killed one guy at the very end or, and a lot of that is just patience. But of course, like people play this game for different reasons. Like if you want to go get as many kills in a game, like do you? But that's not necessarily how you're going to win the game, just by outplaying people, because it's unlikely that's actually going to be the case, in my opinion.
Yep.
So,
I just found out that I have to leave for lunch in 9 minutes. So I think we're going to hit Chad's question, and then we're going to push Josh's to next week because it will still be delightfully relevant. But would you like to talk about Sean's question? He wants to hear more about the Hearthstone update. What are your best dungeon run strats? I know you've played a little bit of this, so have you played enough to have strats?
Oh man, it's so hard. Like I still don't quite know who all the bad guys are and what they do, and when you get towards the end of the dungeon, they get very, very difficult. Like they start spewing out 5/5 monsters every turn, and they start like burning cards or whatever they're doing is challenging. So having a lot of health can be, and there's a few moments where you get to pick a new ability to buff yourself by either starting with 2 cards at the beginning or doubling your health or extra card draw or I'm trying to remember what all of them are, but having just a ton of health is helpful because you're going to be able to get really powerful cards. So just being able to outlast your opponent, because you can get upwards of like 120 health at some point, where typically in a game of Hearthstone you'd have 30. So, but you are fighting very powerful enemies. But I was able to win a dungeon off of fatigue. So we both had our decks drawn out. And so every turn you draw a card, you would lose 1 health. And then the next turn you can't draw a card, you lose 2 health. And the next turn, so it keeps stacking, right? And I just had enough health to out fatigue my opponent in that case. Because I was playing Warrior, which is what I like playing, and that's the thing I beat the dungeon with first. So I think I had a lot of taunt creatures. So I was just forcing them to attack my creatures that I had and fatigued them out because I didn't have the aggressive capabilities of being able to clear his board and then actually do face damage to actually win the game that way.
Sure. And
I had to fatigue him out. So, other than that, I'm not. I haven't had a lot of success yet.
Sure. Just keep playing.
Yeah. And I think that's the crazy thing is there's so much randomness to it.
That doesn't help.
Like you don't quite know what your ability, so it's hard to build to something that you don't quite know how it's going to end up. You can try to do things like obviously you're gonna have a lot of opportunities to get cards down that you normally wouldn't in a game because you'll have cards that say any minion that's more than 5 mana is 5 mana. So, like, that's awesome if you have a bunch of legendary creatures that are more than 5 mana, because you're getting a lot of value now. So, finding ways to synergize and, like, build decks that make sense, too. And I think that's a big strategy is, like, build a deck around taunt minions or build a deck around getting legendary minions out for cheaper. Like, because they when you get to pick your new sets of cards, it's like taunt minions, legendary, and death rattle, or whatever their little abilities are. So you get a small set of cards to add to your deck that do something. So synergizing those things is obviously going to be helpful, but I think being mindful of that as you're going, and making sure that those things are working together. Because I definitely made some just decks that didn't work.
Sure.
In some cases, and I think in a lot of these games, I'm not sure how often you can like play aggro, like an aggro deck, and try to like beat them quick in this mode later on. Like early, sure, but when you're later on when they have these crazy abilities, like I think you have to plan for the long game. So having decks that like building like a pirate aggro deck, I don't think is really going to work, even though that might be an option. Like there might be a later game pirate deck that you can make, but generally that warrior pirate combo is a early game aggressive, beat them in 5 turns or you lose. And I think that deck doesn't win a lot in Dungeon. I could be completely wrong, but I haven't necessarily tried to build it because that's my thought behind it.
Sure.
So I try to play for the long game.
Makes sense.
And knowing that I can last and I can get good, strong things on the board, because you're going to see some crazy stuff. So that's my thought so far.
It's good.
Something I need to play a little bit more, but
I keep meaning to try that too. Like I'm not super interested, but I want to be a little bit more conversant in Hearthstone, so maybe I'll give that a go. Like I said, we got a question from Josh. It's actually a really good question. I think Adam might actually like to weigh in on this as well. So we're gonna, I think, push that to next week, just because, like I said, I got to go in 4 minutes now. Real quick though, we're gonna finish out with some cheap free games and a mobile game that Dylan's been impressed with. So both Games with Gold and PlayStation Plus have been announced. Games with Gold are going to be for the Xbox One, The Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing 3, from the 1st to the 31st. I have not played any of the Van Helsing games. Have you?
no, I didn't know there's 3 of them.
Yeah, I didn't either. So there's that. And then a game called Zombie, Zombi. That's from January 16th to February 15th, which is, I believe, the same thing as Zombie University that was on the Wii U. And I've heard this game is very, very, very good. So if that is your jam, check that out. I always like zombies. And then January 1st to the 15th for the 360 and backwards compatible will be Tomb Raider Underworld, which I've also not played, and Army of Two from the 16th to the 31st, which I have played, and it's, I think the correct word is bro-tastic.
Yes.
It's a incredibly testosterone-driven cover-based shooter that is
Awesome.
It's terrible and fantastic all at the same time. It's the kind of game where you will literally rip a car door off and use that for cover.
Yeah, or put a soda can on the front of your weapon like a silencer.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It was my brother and I played through it co-op. It's great co-op. It's like playing an action movie. Yeah. So, it's backwards compatible. Give that a go.
Lots of fist bumps.
Lots of fist bumps. Some of them very, very, very inappropriate. And then PlayStation Plus games were actually announced while we were recording, so perfect timing, as they say. The PS4 is going to get the Telltale Batman adventure games that came out last year. I heard they were actually pretty good. Getting like 75, 80s if you're into the kind of Telltale way of doing things, but I heard it's a very interesting take on Batman. So there's that. And then you'll also get Deus Ex Mankind Divided, which is the Deus Ex game that came out. Geez, I'm going to say, yeah, it is the new one. So I don't know if it came out last year. I think 2016. Yeah, late last year. It was supposed to be really good. It didn't sell terribly well, but if you're into that kind of Deus Ex sneaking through AC vents kind of stuff, you might like that. You'll also get PS4 owners and Vita owners will get Uncanny Valley and Psycho Pass, Mandatory Happiness, neither of which I'm familiar with, but maybe they're good. And then PS3 folks will get Sacred 3, which Sacred 3 I only played a little bit of, but the Sacred series overall is some of my very favorite like Diablo clones. Sacred 2 was absolutely phenomenal. And they will also get the Book of Unwritten Tales 2, which I have never heard of. But those all come out Tuesday, so the day after New Year's. So you'll be able to pick those up. Apparently there's also a bonus game called Starblood Arena, which is apparently an arena combat title from Sony Interactive. So it requires PSVR. So that will be something for those of you that have PSVR will be able to try out. Finally, we're going to talk about Dylan's new favorite mobile game.
Yeah, so I took some time to play this Arena of Valor, which last week we mentioned was the like most played game in the world because it was never in North America, but it was over in China, and their population over there is quite large, I think.
I've heard that.
And a lot of people play this game, like twice as many as our most played game or something like
crazy.
That. Like a lot of people, and it makes sense because everyone has phones, and it's actually a pretty good game. And I'm just impressed that you can really have a MOBA on a phone that's very much like League of Legends, and it actually functions pretty well.
That's crazy. I've watched him play it. It looks phenomenal. It
looks graphically really good. I mean, it's pretty much a straight clone of League of Legends. Like some of the characters look very similar. Obviously, the graphics aren't quite as good as a PC, but what do you expect on a phone? And the screen's pretty small, so you don't really care that much.
Yeah.
But it actually controls really well, which is kind of what I would be most concerned about. Is like, how in the world how do you play that game on a phone? But you use your left thumb in the lower left corner, and it's like a virtual joystick, and you just move around.
It's crazy.
And then you have your 3 skill buttons on the other side, and you're able to do your buffed attacks or your skills, and then you're able to hold down like your skill shots that aren't like auto targeted. And you can hold that down and then press a direction, and it shoots an arc out near your character, so you know which direction it's going, and it actually controls very well. And like little things like that make it easier than you would, because you're obviously not playing on PC, so you don't have all the keys and the shortcuts to do everything. But for example, when you have enough gold to buy something, that the icon will pop up and you can purchase it. So like these little tips, like not tips, but little tricks to ease the user interface and the experience. So it's not super complicated, which is nice. So you can basically set up the items that you wish to purchase throughout the game to create your full build. Because like the other MOBAs, like League of Legends and things, you can have like 6 items fully built or whatever it is. And it will suggest which item to build to start working through that build path, right? And those pop up, you tap them, and you buy the item. So it's easy. You don't have to go into like the purchase inventory and find things. You can obviously do that if you need to make adjustments for what you're fighting against, but I'm playing this on a phone, so I'm not going to get that deep into this. But it is fun to be able to play like a big game like this on a phone, and it works pretty well. So I understand why that many people play it, because it's really well done. I have to say it is.
I think that's really cool.
Like it's well done, and it's on a phone, so it makes sense that a lot of people play this, because a lot of people play Dota and they play League of Legends, and Smite did really well on the Xbox and PC too. Like people play that. I played it a little bit, and it works pretty well on the controller. So it's like this is a game that can kind of transcend just a mouse and keyboard, which is neat. So, and it's neat to be able to play that kind of game when you're not at your computer. So yeah, it's pretty fun. And games last, it suggests 12 to 18 minutes, which is nice because that's a quarter of the time of a game of League of Legends. So you can kind of get your MOBA fix much quicker and play a couple rounds in a half hour or so. So that's pretty cool.
Very cool. Very cool. So that's our little bit of small bites for today. I think that kind of wraps up our episode. This is actually the last episode of 2017. So next time you hear from us, we will be in 2018, which is weird and scary.
Are we all like a year older then? Or
I think that's how it works. I don't know. I get confused with years and birthdays and stuff. But yeah, effectively, we're all a year older, I think, is the way it works. So let's, 2017 was probably one of the best gaming years we've seen in a while. We can talk about that more next week, but man, there was a lot of good games that came out this year. So hopefully 2018 will continue to be, that kind of high level, a bunch of amazing games to play. I'll keep us busy. Until then, you can find us on all of the different social medias at Bite Me Podcast. That's BYTE. You can find us Facebook, Twitter, Mixer, YouTubes. You can join our Discord channel. We're very nice and we're kind of chatty, and that, there's a bunch of other people there too. Anytime you hear us mention someone in this podcast, my brother, Vinny, and Kevin, and Annie, and all those folks all hang out in our Discord too. So you can come hang out with them as well. We're very friendly. What else do we do? You can email us, bitemepodcast.com. You can visit our website at bitemepodcast.com as well. And really just type Bite Me Podcast in, and there's just a bunch of places you can go. Yeah, go find all those places. So until then, I think that is us for the day. And
Bite me.
It's so good.
Bite me.
You're done now.
Bite me.
All right.